only Dangote can supply cement in Nigeria. That's the same thing that is happening right now. Only Dangote refining oil in Nigeria. But Dangote refinery is not only refinery that we had in Nigeria. There is Port Harcourt refinery. There is Warri. You will count up to 4 refineries in Nigeria. But bad policies and bad government made these refineries not to work. And Dangote came to do what he knows how to do best. Negotiate. Nigeria regularly shipped oil from 900,000 to 1.2 barrels per day to the US refineries alone. So there is something you need to understand. What I want you to understand is, it's not just that Nigeria was shipping this kind of quantity. It was also that Nigeria became top 5 supplier oil to the US by volume. When I have interview in any organization, I will go there and tell them it's my turn. I will not boast of my competence and my skills. What if I tell you that Nigeria, once oil rich and powerful, now import oil from the US? The same country that used to buy from Nigeria. Welcome to the Influential Podcast. If today is your first time joining us, please, I will ask you to subscribe and be part of this growing community. Comment to keep it engaging and share so that other people can join us. I will reiterate. Nigeria used to be the biggest oil exporter from Africa. Now, we are importing from the US. Why it's like this? I would like to take you back in time a little bit. We'll talk about our history so that you understand what is going on. And I will say why this thing is happening like this: because of bad policies and abundance of gross incompetent people that we have now in our government. So I will take you back to memory lane to let you understand, since Nigeria started exporting oil, from the discovery oil in Nigeria and the time we started exporting oil to the United States and world entirely. I will take you back to memory lane. Oil was discovered in Nigeria back in 1956, but the country did not become global supplier until 1970s. There is something I want you to understand with what I just told you now, right? Everything has to do with competency and the kind of people that you have making policies for you. Since Nigeria discovered oil in 1956 and Nigeria did not export till 2 years later, and when Nigeria discovered oil and started exporting to the US during 1970s, Nigeria, after discovering of oil in Nigeria in 1956, Nigeria started exporting 2 years later. And 1970s, Nigeria raised to become Africa's biggest crude exporter. Let me say that again. Nigeria raised to become Africa's biggest exporter in 1970s. By the late 1990s, Nigeria had cemented its position as top-tier global oil supplier, especially to the United States. I need you to understand that while we started deliberating on this, or while we started discussing this, is because of how Nigeria went from the highest oil exporter to the US to exporting none. But in the middle of this podcast, there is something I will let you know, or I will tell you. Nigerian global era status started in 1999. And what happened that time is that we have a change of power from military to a civilian rule. And during that time that Nigeria started, during 1999, what happened is we had a president called President Obasanjo. Yaradua, and Jonathan. During this three governments, I would say, and you can also see it if you're somebody that looks at Nigerian GDP and economy as a whole, you will understand that during these three administrations, Nigeria was growing. Nigeria was going exponentially at the worst stage. We had our respect during the time of Obasanjo. We had our respect during the time of Yaradua, and we also had our respect during the time of Jonathan. Nigeria regularly shipped oil from 900,000 to 1.2 barrels per day to the US refineries alone. So there is something you need to understand. What I want you to understand is, it's not just that Nigeria was shipping this kind of quantity. It was also that Nigeria became top 5 supplier oil to the US by volume and maintained this position as Africa's largest oil exporter throughout this era. What happened during this time is Nigeria has competent leaders. This is what happened. After Nigeria discovered oil, Nigeria has people in their highest office that has the people at heart or want Nigeria to grow forward. People that when they make policy, they will have the country at the back of their mind. They are not making policies to enrich themselves. They were not making policies to see their citizens suffer so that they will keep trampling on the citizens. The policies that were made in Nigeria at that time saw investments come into Nigeria. There were so many factories that was in Nigeria at that time. There was so many oil companies that was in Nigeria, and there were shops. Things keep happening in Nigeria. Telecommunications keep coming in, but you cannot see all those things now. And right now, they are even living. It is mind-boggling, and I, as a Nigerian citizen, staying outside Nigeria and seeing how things works here, I cannot sleep. I cannot sleep knowing that my country, how things are poorly done, how policies are only meant to benefit only politicians and not the citizens at large. These kind of things are what we should be talking about, and this is what I am here to educate you, for you to draw your own conclusion on. Then comes the turning point from 2011 to 2015. 2011 to 2015, what happened, and it was during Jonathan's era, but what happened that time was that oil boom, there is a shale oil boom from the United States. What happened during that time was that the United States started producing their oil at a large scale. There is something called shale oil boom. And this affected both, it affected both geologics and geopolitics. U.S. shale oil production soared, and Nigerian exports to the U.S. plummeted by 2014 and to 2015. Import levels dropped nearly to zero. This happened because of the United States started producing oil at a very large scale. It's not a crime, or it's not a bad thing that the United States started producing their oil, or they decided to rely solely on what they produce. Let's say like that. But the thing is that because of the people that we had in power at that time, they know what we are doing. Luckily, Nigeria had people with Nigerian interest in the office. But we cannot boast of this, and I cannot make this kind of statement during this time, according to what is happening in Nigeria. They redirected during that time, as I'm saying, from 2014 to 2015, Nigeria redirected their export to Asia, supplying to China and India, and also become their major client. Then after these people left office, you will see this kind of bloodsuckers that we have in office now. They only want to contest to bid in the highest office in Nigeria because of it is their turn, not because of they want to serve the Nigerian people or they want to contribute to the well-being of Nigerians and also progress of Nigeria, but because it is their turn. I wish when I take my CV to go look for a work, or when I have interview in any organization, I will go there and tell them it's my turn. I will not boast of my competence and my skills. I will only boast of it's my turn. And Nigeria has bought into it. I will say that Nigeria is buying into this. We are suffering it, I know. The people that also bought into this are suffering it. Even, I would say, more than me, at some extent, because they are in there. But we cannot continue like this. What is happening in Nigeria now affects everybody, both in Nigeria and in diaspora. So the twist came when Nigeria is now importing crude from the United States. The first time in the history by volume. And what happened here is that, remember, it's not that we are importing from the US right now. US also become net crude exporter to Nigeria for February and March 2025, according to Punch, due to refinery maintenance in the US and Dangote demand. Due to refinery maintenance in the US and also Dangote refinery demand of oil, Nigeria became a net importer from the United States, first time in history. Are you telling me that once oil king in Africa cannot overfeed Dangote refinery? Is that what you're telling me? That the biggest exporter of oil in Africa, the biggest exporter of oil cannot supply oil to Dangote. I do not understand it. People might come and say that there are specific oils that Dangote refinery will need. Some people might come to say this, but I will also say that Dangote is able to start refining oil in Nigeria because of what they used to do. It happens during cement. Dangote became the only cement, I would say cement importer or cement maker in Nigeria. Only Dangote can supply cement in Nigeria. That's the same thing that is happening right now. Only Dangote refining oil in Nigeria. But Dangote oil refinery is not only refinery that we had in Nigeria. There is Port Harcourt refinery. There is Warri. You will count up to 4 refineries in Nigeria. But bad policies and bad government made these refineries not to work. And Dangote came to do what he knows how to do best. Negotiate and lobby people he needs to lobby so that they will give him license to have a refinery. It's not a bad thing. He has the skills and people are willing to take the money, so he should give it. I also remember that once one of our past senator right now said that if Nigeria, he once said that if Nigeria will give him oil, he will build a refinery. But they did not do that. I don't know if it's from his own failure but okay. Let me not continue to this lane because we are talking about Nigeria so that it will not come to tribal issue. Yet, Nigeria still export oil up to $1.340 billion worth of crude to the US so that they can share this money. You need to understand that this thing does not make sense. It does not make sense that you are importing oil from a country, at the same time also exporting oil to them. I said before that some people will say this because of there is a specific crude oil you need to import or export, this kind of thing. And Dangote refinery is only specific that you're going to go there. It's not every crude oil that will go there. I will say I also understand that. But it's like that because of the gross incompetency that we have in Nigerian government. That is why we have only one operating refinery in Nigeria. It does not make sense, and I cannot see any sense in it that the largest exporter of oil or the largest oil production country in Africa sometimes have oil scarcities. It does not make any sense. It does not make any sense to anybody, and it does not make any sense to me. The only reason why Nigeria will be exporting oil and also importing oil is because so that they will share the one that have exported. This is how they launder their money. When the people in your government export oil, the money will not come back anymore. They share it to their children. This is what happens. This is how they steal your resources. You don't have oil for local refineries, but you have oil to export. Mugu. I don't know. I'm saying Mugu because it doesn't make any sense. In Nigeria, when somebody does something that does not make any sense, that is the only thing that we call that person Mugu. Because it's not magic that we are here. It is mismanagement, policy failure, and dependency. That is how we got here. We cannot foresee things. We cannot forecast. We don't have people that we think. If you want to look at people that we have in government right now, the kind of ministers we have in office right now, and the kind of ministers that we had in the previous administration, compare it to 1999 to 2015, when we have a government that had our interests at heart. Look at the kind of ministers that Nigeria could boast of that time and the ministers that we have right now. Very incompetent people. What everybody does right now in the world is to take Nigerian name. When you want to go viral in the internet, you say something about Nigeria. Or when you want to grow your account, you keep talking about the things Nigerian government is doing or how Nigeria cannot boast of stability. Yes, they are using this thing to make name for themselves, but this is a simple truth. If you check the government of Obasanjo, Yar'Adua, and Jonathan, check the cost of living and make the serious change that you need to do. These things are things that us individuals as Nigerians need to look at it seriously, because this is what is affecting us. It doesn't make any sense that one used to be the biggest economy in Africa right now cannot boast of anything. We cannot boast of a strong passport for people that wants to travel and Nigerians in diaspora, and we cannot boast of steady economy. We cannot boast of security. What can Nigerians boast for right now? This is my question. The only thing I know from my own standpoint and the findings you can make online is you can only boast of Nigerians individually making it great at the global stage. But when it comes to policymakers in Nigeria, we have people who cannot think clearly before they do what they're doing. The only thing they do is when you put a microphone in their presence and they see camera, they start making decisions on the spot. Decisions that can take Nigeria 10 to 15 years backwards. These are the kind of people we have in the office, and they are the kind of people we have in our public offices making policies for Nigeria, making policies that takes us 10 years backwards. Remember that since 1973 that Nigeria started exporting oil to the US. This is the first time that the United States is becoming a net exporter to the Nigeria. Please, I will ask you as a Nigerian and a lover of good governance to share this video, comment, make it engaging so that other Nigerians can see this, because we need more Nigerians to keep evaluating what is going on with their government, keep analyzing what they need to analyze, and keep asking questions. And when you're asking questions, please educate the nearest person. Make your findings and let Nigerians know what is going on. Right now, we are in the information age where everything is just at the click of a button, and you will find every information that you need to find. And if this is your first time coming across Vicinfluential Podcast, I'll ask you to subscribe once again, and see you next on Vicinfluential.